We're going to give Mick the opportunity to answer a couple questions that we have here. Our first question is, sir, do you believe there was fraud in the 2020 election?
The most actionable piece of fraud is what happened with the UOCAVA or military absentee overseas ballots. I want to remind you guys of something. In November of 1990, I was deployed to the Gulf, flew in the first Gulf War, flew in the largest daylight raid since 1945. Literally, I've seen the guy right next to me get shot down. In November, leading up to that election, we had a midterm election. I was living in a tent. I received a military absentee overseas ballot. I filled in the bubbles. I licked the back of it, shoved it in an envelope, and at my tent, it was picked up and returned. In 2016, in the state of Arizona, when I was the commanding general of the Guard, there were 1,600 military absentee overseas ballots remitted. In this 2020 election, over 10,400 were remitted. Between 2016 and 2020, there was not a tenfold increase in the number of military personnel deployed forward. Add to it, that was the only category of voter that was allowed to photocopy, photo, fax, or submit the ballot. And ironically, 95% of them voted for Mr. Biden. So, Brandon, you are a law enforcement officer. You got to provide probable cause. People ask me, well, what's going to happen? Here's what's going to happen. Mr. Brnovich signed the same certification document that Katie Hobbs and Governor Ducey signed. I sat for 8 years as the commanding general of the Guard. Now, I spent the first 26 years of my life putting warheads on foreheads and training people how to do it. But for the last 8 years, I sat in the seat as the final adjudicant in the military for codes of justice. So if you come to me and you present evidence and you say, hey, I want to prefer charges against her as the Secretary of State for fraud, and she presents as her first exhibit the certified election result that you have signed, you have two choices as a counselor. You can either step over and join the defense, or you can drop the charges. That is the most actionable criminal evidence that I have seen. He has talked to nobody in the military about that, and he's not going to. I'm not trying to break anybody's bubble here, but just think about this. The federal district court judge, no matter how left, right, or center he or she is going to receive a document that he, for example, wants to say, I'm indicting Katie Hobbs. His name's on the same certification document. As an officer of the court, it's not going to happen. This has got to get addressed immediately. I pray that this is an Attorney General forum, but whoever gets elected Attorney General has got to interview all of us involved with deploying folks over there and explain to me why in 1990 I was capable of filling it out and licking the back of an envelope. I take offense at the idea that now it's too complicated for a member of the military to fill out their budget and lick the back of the envelope.
Yeah.
All right, next question. As a senator, would you stand against your party in a vote for something morally right?
Absolutely. Somebody asked me about what the power of one looks like. You're one of 100. I was one of 54. I step forward and I don't move. I'm not bending the knee on principle. There is no way I'm using the military to turn on our own citizens, let alone the way we run afoul of what you do as a law enforcement officer. We're not posted. We're not sworn. We're not used to enforce the law of the land. You are. Our job is to fight and win the wars. There are exceptions. I laid out the 3 that you can use the military domestically, and I'm going to take the same principle. For example, we got to have enough funding and reconciliation, at least $6 billion. You say $6 billion? Are you kidding me? $6 billion? We just spent $6 billion on SoFi Stadium where they just played the Super Bowl. He was talking about Herschel Walker. If it's worth the time to spend that much on football stadium, you think we would spend that much money securing our southwest border, because it's completely lawless there, right? And so they say to me, hey, we're not giving you the money. I say, well, then I'm the 51st vote. You're not going anywhere without me, right? That's the way it's got to work. And the power of the 51st vote is real. Look no further than what's happened with the 50-50 Senate, when even one Democrat, in this case Sinema and Manchin, vote to stop tyranny of the majority. 50 plus 1 is tyranny of the majority, folks.
Yes.
It is tyranny of the majority. You hold the line all the time. You never waver. Actions speak louder than words. That's how I'm going to behave.
Thank you, sir. That was good. All right. Our next speaker is also running for U.S. Senate. And I'm going to tell you right now that this guy means business. All right? A veteran, a successful businessman, a true leader, an America First conservative, and a guy who knows the value of hard work. So much so that he learned at a young age to work hard and value faith, family, and country. Ironically, his very first job at age 7 was shoveling manure. Hey, Jim, did you ever think that shoveling shit would get you to D.C.? I bet he never knew the importance of that. All right. He stands for putting America first, securing the border, streamlining federal government. As a Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, his drive to succeed pushes him to fight, just as he does in business every day. So, without further ado, please welcome Jim Lamon.
Keeps us connected. It even saves lives. My name is Jim Lamon, and I've spent my career bringing power to the people. But we all know there's another kind of power. Some people have a lot of it, but others have almost none. As a kid, I worked on my family farm, shoveling manure for quarters. I didn't have a lot of power, but the lessons my parents taught me showed me the power to better yourself comes from hard work. I couldn't afford to go to college, but an ROTC scholarship gave me the power of an education. Playing football for Coach Bear Brown taught me the power of being part of a team. Serving in Germany during the Cold War showed me that American freedom is so powerful. People would risk their lives to escape communism to grasp it. As an entrepreneur, building one of the fastest growing private energy companies in America, I've learned that power also means responsibility. Too many powerful companies outsource jobs, collude with our foreign foes, and abandon the American ideals that made their success possible. Our political and media elites have a lot of power. The power to divide us and distract us, to amplify the angry, the lies that suppress the reasonable, the power to spend so much money our grandchildren will struggle to pay off the debt. But here in America, we have the power to take their power away. I'm Jim Lamon, and that's why I'm running for U.S. Senate. I want to take money and power away from Washington, D.C. and give it back to you. In my company, we understand how to make power and turn it into a force for good. We put American workers and veterans first. We solve problems with the power of innovation and teamwork, and we use our profits to help those in need. I'm Jim Lamon. Please join me. Together, we have the power to build a brighter future for Arizona, our country, and for our children.
All right, thanks everybody. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, is it Jim Lamon? Yeah, my twin. So Jim advertised for a body double, and I signed up and I got the gig. The only way you can tell us apart is I don't waste time on my toxic masculinity up here, so we can tell each other apart. On a serious note, I met Jim at a Back the Blue rally, and I have a film out called Bleeding Blue that's an award-winning film about protecting police officers. And Jim stepped up. He had it arranged for us to show the film at different theaters around Phoenix area. So that was my first exposure to Jim, but I knew immediately that we would become instant friends. And as I learned more about him, I learned that we really are twins. You know, it's hard to believe, but we are. I grew up in the country. Jim grew up in the country. I was a professional athlete or an athlete in college and went on to do some things with that and business person. And what I noticed about Jim was his values fit mine. Country kid, military school. Jim obviously was in the military. So when it was time to step up and me to give some support to somebody, it was no doubt in my mind I wanted to put my support behind Jim Lamon. So I want to welcome Jim Lamon to come give a few words about what he's going to do for us.
So guys, appreciate you coming out tonight. Got some great patriots out here. I also want to thank Valerie, you guys, and also the great American PAC, the great work you're doing. I want to thank you guys. You've already given your endorsement to our campaign. Much appreciated. You interviewed all the candidates. Same with the National Border Patrol Council. Interviewed all candidates and have endorsed our campaign. Also the Arizona Police Association, Arizona Police and Sheriff's Association, the National Association of Police Officers. I could go on, but I have limited time. Guys, we've got 28 major endorsements because we've interviewed the candidates, and God bless, we got some good Republicans. We got, as you just heard from Mick, you got Blake. I am not going to put Berno in that category. He is a do-nothing Attorney General. No use for him. Okay. Guys, you're faced this year with a very daunting task, and that is to select the right guy that will beat the guy that's endorsed by the Communist Chinese Party. Okay? That would be the guy that's sitting as our senator in D.C. right now and voting 100% complicit with everything that Schumer, George Soros, and anybody else tells him to do. So guys, if you want a fighter, you want a guy who, humble beginnings, 6-year Army paratrooper engineer officer, served front lines, Germany during the Cold War. You want a guy who went into industry, business, worked my way up from field engineer to president, and then built a company in coal and gas, second largest in the country next to Bechtel, and building coal plants. Then started a company here in Arizona. Brought over coal and gas guys, built second fastest growing private energy company in America. 1,700 staff. We hired Americans first, veterans first, 22%. We bought American first. It was hard, but we did it. We could have made another 5-6% buying cheap Chinese crap. We got that number down to 5%. My nearest competitor's 50. I've been giving guys a lot. I've been sitting behind the scenes saying, hey, I'll support those who go to the front lines and do the conservative thing. Giving millions to President Trump, Arizona House and Senate leaders, Freedom Caucus, Go Sawyer, Biggs, all those kind of guys, right? I said, this year we must beat Mark Kelly without a question. So stepped in the race. Part of the things that we did before we jumped in, last year we started the largest private voter registration project in this country. Founded it, paying for it. 25 full-time staff, a couple of them here tonight around the state. Guys, I can report to you that combined with what Turning Point's doing on campus, we're all right the rural areas and the Walmarts and the Lowe's and et cetera. Guys, since last May, we've been out-registering the Democrats in the state 2.2 to 1. The energy is supreme. The national team that I've got, I hire the best. I'm in business. Sold the business last year to focus on this, but I know something about building great teams and big companies. Billion-dollar stuff. Hire the best. Accent Strategy is the same group that helped Youngkin beat that Marxist back in Virginia for governor. That's my national team. This is their #1 race. We talk every day. You'll notice I will never spend $1 beating up on a Republican. I'll be the first, as Mick will as well, to help each other. Because the enemy is the evil on the other side of the aisle. Okay? So in doing that, every dollar that you contribute to the campaign, and I'm putting in a small fortune of my own, goes to ads. Anybody seen any of those, by the way? And I do want to say, in the Western ad, I did do that, right? Reholstered. Took me 32 times, but I did it. If you noticed, there's a little cameo roll in there with Sheriff Lamb and Brandon Judd. The stunt guy tried to teach me, couldn't, and Sheriff Lamb says, Jim, I got this. I'm going to show you. Third time I got it. But the point of that, guys, is we're taking heat to Kelly every day. As soon as he comes out with an ad, and Jesus Christmas, the guy has no morals whatsoever. Then he put an ad out 2 weeks ago that said, I support border control. I mean, are you kidding me? Immediately, in 48 hours, they had an ad up taking his words and my words and going after him and called him on camera a bald-faced liar. As he is, right? So guys, in this campaign, we got major endorsements. As I said, I'm putting in a lot of money into this because I love my country. I'm not going to take a salary, I'll donate it. I'm not taking a single dollar for pension. Don't want to donate it. I want to go there and be a statesman. I've signed a 2-term limit pledge. I have not taken a lobbyist dollar nor PAC dollar. That's a good thing. Guys, I'm a job creator, a veteran. I know what it's like to go up against the federal government getting coal plants permitted, solar plants permitted. These guys from EPA, Forest Service, BLM, must stand out. These guys are run in a socialistic fashion to do everything they can to slow down progress in the American economy.
Yes.
We are not ceding a single vote in the state. We're all over South Arizona as well as North and the Valley. First time in a long time, guys, we're advertising in Spanish and in English, in Nogales, in Yuma, and in Tucson. Those radio station owners will tell us, Jim, we actually found reasons not to do Republican ads in the past, but it's time. Our people want these jobs. In Nogales, the kids have no future. 12 miles outside of town, it's the world's largest manganese deposit, and it's been sitting there in permitting for 12 freaking years. Forest Service, 49% of this damn state is, quote, federal lands. It's time to get a balance, okay? We import 90% of our manganese from China, which makes hardened steel, right? Hardened steel, you can't have a battle tank without it. We must start mining in this country. We must get back to energy dominance. We must get back to American manufacturing. First and foremost priority is close the southern border. I've been down a dozen times probably with the Border Patrol guys. I talked to Brandon, Art, Tom Holman, all those guys, probably one of them probably once a day because it's so out of control, 2.4 million last year. That's 42,000 a week. Under Trump, he had it down to 125,000. Called Monday, Jim, you got to come see this. It was Russia Day. Go down to Yuma, coming in the gap of the wall, standing as close to me as the cameraman were 40 Russian military-age males. This is not a humanitarian thing, guys. Your country is at risk in a big way. And I'm optimistic, and I darn sure hope it's not too late. But guys, you got 103 days before early ballots go out. 103 days. Do you know by July 15th, 34% of Arizona Republican primary voters will have voted. That's a lot, 110 days from now. Guys, get involved. Pick your candidate, get on that horse, and ride it hard right now. The left is doing it every day. George Soros will put in whatever amount he thinks he needs. I've raised almost 3 times all of my other worthy Republican opponents combined, and yeah, a big part of it's mine. 94% of it, including mine, comes from Arizona. The guys will put in what it takes to beat George Soros and Mark Kelly, because that guy's evil.
Yes.
If you love your country, you guys are out here on a beautiful, almost winter, we're in spring now, day in Arizona. It's time. We have got to move forward. I appreciate everybody in this room. A lot of you already support the campaign. We've opened 8 regional offices. One in Sun City, locally here, one in Scottsdale, one in South Phoenix. I just came back from Payson. We're up there today, just got back a few minutes ago, came direct here. Opened in Kingman. We're down in Tucson, etc. But guys, each of those offices that we've opened, and never is anybody open more than one or so. But it's necessary to make sure that we beat Mark Kelly. And guys, when we open these offices, we get a typical about 100, 110 volunteers that come to these openings, and they man the phone calls. This action group I mentioned that helped beat the marches back in Virginia, we set up the system. It's an Apple app for you. Come in, help us out, make those phone calls. Yesterday, we crossed the first 60,000 phone calls. We're headed to 2 million before that ballot goes out. I got the sign up here. You know, my man with access 2 minutes. I'll respect the American Pack guys can keep time better than my team can. So I thank y'all for your time, guys. Join this team and jump on board. Let's beat Mark Kelly.
All right, so first question is the same what I gave Mick was, do you believe there was fraud in the 2020 election?
So of your choices for the race, one is, since day one, backed the audit and said that we need to get to the bottom of it. And yes, based on the audit, there was definitely fraud in that election. We are fortunate we have a legislature that's finally woken up, and we've passed some of those bills already, like no more sucker bucks. We also have a bunch in front of the legislature right now. We all need to vote, bring the wave, and we'll get more American First candidates in there. When I sold the company last year, I set aside serious 6-digit money to make sure that we get a 4 or 5 seat majority in the House and Senate. I'm helping fund these guys and ladies. We now met with 32 of them. We got about 45 to go, or excuse me, total 45. To help them, because if I can, I must help. Just like we've done with registered voters, like we've done with supporting candidates like Biggs and Trump and et cetera. So guys, I'm all in for making sure we get this right. Arizona's the leading state. We're the only one that did the audit all the way down the pipe. I helped fund it because the legislature didn't put enough money in there for it, because we needed to know. And now we know. We got a legislature act, because the chances of Brnovich or Ducey acting are about zip and none. We have to do it. We have to push our legislature, just like you're out here tonight, to take that kind of action. We then use that as an example across this country. In the Senate, elections are local. We got to make sure that we don't federalize our local elections. The one thing I can do is fight like hell to make sure that we have only citizens vote in this country, and they only vote once. And like in Florida, like DeSantis runs a tight ship. We know at midnight what the result was, and we tend to all agree with it. That's the goal, the vision.
All right, next question. Give us your perspective on the Russian-Ukrainian, we'll call it conflict.
So say lots of things that are happening intentionally around this world where if you don't look at it as it happened intentionally, you wonder, how could anyone be that stupid?
Yes, yes.
If you look at Afghanistan debacle,
Yes.
you can't screw it up that bad. It's intentional.
Yes.
Put the State Department in charge of military operations, take out the military, you know the drill. 13 brave men and women serving uniform murdered. Austin and Millie, I look forward to the day that I can get in DC and get those two clowns in front of me. They don't deserve to be in uniform. That was intentional. 84 billion, the strategic air base next to China, to humiliate America in front of the world. Southern border is open intentionally. Pandemic, vaccine, mandates, this, that, and the other, and a wide open southern border, give me a break. Those two do not go together. Look at what's happening in inflation. You close down our pipelines, stop our drilling, and say yes to Russia, and now you're negotiating with Iran. Intentional. Ukraine, Russia is happening to distract our attention, push troops over there, get them out of the U.S. The ditto when Taiwan gets invaded, to put them into Japan and South Korea. And God knows, guys, we don't have that much in the military in uniform today relative to Marines and Army active duty. We don't have enough. We've got to fix that. And also, but we're going to be, I won't say stripped down, but you start putting all our troops over toward Japan and South Korea and Poland and stuff, and we have millions that have come through that border that are military age male. Think about it. Intentional, okay? Lots of sinister things going on. Communist Chinese Party makes no secret. They have a 100-year plan, and they're ahead of it, well past the 50-year mark, in taking over American world. we have this election left, I believe. Don't lose the opportunity to participate big. Get behind the candidate, please. I've stepped up. I don't need a job, but by God, I need my country for my kids and grandkids and yours. Thank you very much.